Yo guys, my name is Phoenix and welcome to a new video. A new expansion will be out at the end of the month, so I thought I would review some cards while they're being posted on the official website. So let's not waste any time and start with the first one. Elf Twins Assault, a gold Forestcraft spell that costs 2 and deals X damage to 2 enemies, with a X that equals to the number of neutral cards in your hand. Surely an interesting one. This card has potential for some sick tempo plays. If you have 2 neutral cards in your hand, this card has already great value, being a Dragonite Feast without the discard malus. And if you have 3, you can straight up remove 2 3 play points followers, at least 2 average ones, for just 2 play points. I believe neutral Forestcraft can become a thing just for this card alone, that's how powerful it is. I have high expectation for this card, and if neutral Forestcraft will ever be a thing, you can be sure it will include 3 copies of this spell. Next we have Wonderland Dreams, a 3 play points Amulet that gives +2/+2 at all of your followers at the end of your turn, if you have 4 in play with different names, and then it destroys itself. I don't like this card too much. Surely the +8/+8 total sounds juicy, but I think the requirement is a bit hard to meet, and the fact that it happens at the end of the turn doesn't let you have immediate value. Interesting concept, but I don't think we'll see much of this amulet. Council of Card Knights. It's a Swordcraft spell that costs 5 and summons a Club Soldier, an Hurt Guardian and a Spade Rider. So what are these cards? All of them are 1/3s, and one of them has Storm, the other has Ward and the other has Bane. So yeah, this card is okay, but you have to keep in mind that these are 3 neutral followers, so you have no synergy with commanders. And that can be a malus unless we get a lot more neutral synergy with this expansion. And by the way, it looks like we're gonna get a lot more, so I'm not counting this card out yet. But in a regular Swordcraft deck, I don't think there are many reasons to run this card over Luminous Knight or Albert. I like the concept of this spell, and I think this spell will see play if Swordcraft receives some neutral support. So yeah, we have to see all of the cards before judging it. Old Man and Old Woman, a 3 play points 1/4 follower Swordcraft officer that can attack twice, and if you evolve it, it only gains +1/+1, but it gains Bane too. This is an interesting one. Being an officer, it has good synergy with Banner of Command, and a 2/5 with Bane that can attack twice can make some good 2-for-1 trades in the mid game. I wouldn't be surprised if this card makes it into the classic Swordcraft decks. It may be worth running over Novice Trooper in some lists, and it's surely a great arena card. Next we have Bladed Hedgehog. It's a 2 play points 1/3 that gains +1 attack whenever an enemy follower dies. In the best case scenario, you play this on curve, and you have your 1/3, your opponent plays a 2-drop, and then you play something with Rush or Storm or a removal like Novice Trooper or Blitz Lancer or Whole Solid Swing, and you get yourself a 2 play points 2/3, which still can gain attack. That being said, it's not that great either, and I'm not sure it would make the cut in some Swordcraft lists. Having good stats is not always enough, so I don't have much faith in this card. Moving on to the Runecraft class, we have Witch of Sweets, a 2 play points follower that has a fanfare effect that will draw you a card if you have more neutral cards in your hand than Runecraft ones. If that's the case, this card is huge. Like 2 play points 2/2 draw a card is insanely good. We still need to see how good the neutral decks will be, but if they're going to be good, this card will be a 3-off in neutral Runecraft. Then we have Draconic Lengths for the Dragoncraft class. It's a 6 play point spell that destroys an enemy follower, and if you play a follower that costs 5 or more while this card is in your hand, it costs 4. So the first combo that comes to my mind is Forte plus discard when you have 10 play points, so you can remove the big ward your opponents have and go face with Forte. But that's not just that. In general, removing a follower for just 4 play points is great, and I think this card has some potential, but that being said, it's not a good top deck. You have to have this in your hand to make it cost less, And if you don't make it cost less, it's a strictly worse, like much worse Call of Cusaitus, which is already a bad card. Like not bad, but doesn't see any play. So I don't know. I think this card would be better in other classes, but I don't feel like Dragoncraft has problems with removals. So yeah, I think this card is okay, but it's not going to make the cut for me. Speaking of Dragoncraft, we have a Master of Draconic Arts, 3 play points 1/4 ward that has a clash ability that will give it +4 attack if you have Overflow active. And yeah, I think Overflow is not hard at all these days, especially considering how much ramp Dragoncraft has. So most of the time this card is 3 play points 5/4 ward, which is great. And even if you just play this on curve when you have 3 play points, 3 play points 1/4 ward is not bad either. So I like this card, I think it has potential. And it's also a very good noob killer, because most players tend to forget that clash effects happen before the fight. So yeah, I like this card. Audit, Black Swan, Shadowcraft follower, 6/5 for 6 play points that will summon an Audit on the opponent's field. An Audit is a 4/5 as you will see soon enough, and it evolves itself without paying evolution points. It also has an evolve effect that happens at the end of your turn, and it will deal 2 damage to every enemy, including the opponent's face. So when you play this on an empty board, you can just trade it for Audit and keep a 6/1 that will deal 2 damage to all enemies at the end of your turn, which is pretty damn good. Needless to say, this card is very strong. The deal 2 damage AoE is still relevant on turn 6, as we know from Darjan, and I think this card will see testing and eventually make the cut in some Shadowcraft lists. Next we have Audit, White Swan, and this is a similar card but for the Havencraft class. When you play this card, you will summon an Audit, Black Swan on the opponent's field, and this card evolves itself. And the effect, instead of dealing 2 damage to all enemies, it will heal all allies, including your face. So the fact that this card heals your face means that it procs Elana, and that makes this card pretty good in that deck. But apart from that, it is worse than her sister. I think the Havencraft class have already way too many good 6-cost cards. But yeah, if Elana becomes a thing again, I think it will run Audit. So, cool card. Bloodcraft Legendary, with a fanfare effect that for the rest of the match you will no longer gain play points, but you will deal 1 damage to the enemy leader and draw 1 extra card every turn. It is worth noting that this effect should stack, which means that if you play 2 Karabos, you will draw 2 extra cards and deal 2 damage each turn. And I think this card is really cool. I like the high risk, high reward effect. Don't dream of playing this card on turn 10 so that you don't have the malus, because we know Shadowverse game don't last that much. So you usually play this on turn 6 or 7, and you will be stuck on 6 and 7 or 7 play points for the rest of the game. So to make good use of it, you should play this card in a deck with a lot of small stuff, so that you can make use of the extra card you draw. So I think this card will create its own archetype, and I generally love it when cards can do such a thing. So I like the design. Next, a card I don't like as much. Big Knuckle Bodyguard, 4 play points 3/4, with a fanfare effect that destroys a follower with 3 defense or less, and deals 2 damage to your leader if Vengeance is not active for you. So yeah, I think this card is a bit overpowered. Like, this card is most of the time a strictly better Priest of the Cudgel. Because Priest of the Cudgel, the only thing Priest of the Cudgel does better than this card is banishing. With this card you don't need to evolve, which means you can play it on curve, even if going first. It gains full evolve stats, and 4 play points 5/6 is pretty good. And in general the malus of dealing 2 damage to yourself is not a malus, because it pushes yourself closer to Vengeance, which means that this card doesn't really have any downside. Yeah, I think this card is a bit too good. The good news is that the popular decks for Bloodcraft right now don't run this card, because I don't think you will run this card in a Vengeance Storm, because you have some specific for drops that helps you get in Vengeance, like Belphegor or Soul Dealer. And I don't think this card will make the cut in the normal aggro Bloodcraft either. But this is such a great control Bloodcraft card that I think it will make the deck viable again. And last but not least, we have the legendary Alice itself. So Alice, Wonderland Explorer. Neutral legendary, 4 play points 3/4, and when you summon it, it gives +1/+1 to every other neutral follower in your hand and your field. Hand buff mechanics have been trying in other games, such as Hearthstone, and they have not been very successful there. But I think this case is different, because in Shadowverse you can evolve to gain more presence immediately, and the fact that Alice gives +1/+1 to all the neutral followers on your field too makes this card easy to gain value from. Honestly, I think this card has potential. If it is like 2 neutral followers on your field and 3 in your hand, it can lead to some serious snowballing. And just like the other cards meant for neutral decks we've seen before, this card is great on its own, and the success of it will depend on how good neutral decks will be. But you can be sure the very first legendary I will craft in 3 copies of will be this card, and I will try to make a new neutral deck, just like I did last expansion, to see if you can use just one deck to complete all the quests. And this will be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you agree with my review in the comment section. If you want to see more of this, please consider subscribing. I will make more reviews as cards are revealed. And I think I will stick with the cards from the official website, because I want the videos to look okay. So whenever they will release more cards on the official website, I will review them. And I'll see you next time.